I can't even say because I can't even see, but it seems like we're recording. Yada yada, doesn't really matter. My chair's falling apart. I'm on a hill, so I gotta dig my boots. Oh my goodness, it's a beautiful day. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls and otherwise, my name is AJ. I am the Friendly Hermit, and today we're Winds and Waves finally leaked. I mean, not finally leaked, finally announced. The leaks were confirmed. At least some of the leaks were confirmed. We don't know about everything, for sure. Obviously, everything is up on the table at this point, but Winds and Waves. Listen, I've been following what's been going on. I heard about the leaked names, the titles of the games months ago. So Winds and Waves has been officially confirmed, but the leaks came out months and months ago. Well, if they were right about that, whatever else they were interpreting or releasing or whatever, some of that stuff must also be true. I need to, before anything I say anything else, why is there so much hate for Brout? Why? I just don't get it. Rowlet 2.0. I mean, yeah, it's a bird. Okay, it's a grass bird. All right, it's a round grass bird. All right. But to say Rowlet 2.0, well, we know what Rowlet evolves into. Decidueye, who, frankly speaking, is super cool and, maybe isn't as competitive as some of the other starters, but I'm just a water starter guy. I always pick the water starter. It's just what I do. And I've regretted it. Inteleon, I'll say, I grew up playing N64 GoldenEye and Perfect Dark. So you're telling me my lizard is a secret agent not named after, but modeled after James Bond or inspired by a James Bond-esque character? I go, okay, I win. You keep your soccer bunny and your monkey drummer. Cool, dude. I've got James Bond on my team. We're good. We're cool. That said, what's the problem with Brute? Brout may be a play on the word brute, but also people are saying, why is his name Brout? You have eyes, right? You have eyes. What is a brow? And what is sitting on his brow? We're talking about a monster that is so aptly and appropriately named, and there are so many people complaining about his name. What are you even doing with your life? We're going back to Squirtle level perfection in terms of naming. It's a turtle this is a bird with a brow that is a sprout. Brout. And so I have this idea. People are complaining again. Rowlet 2.0. Okay, fine. But how do we tend to judge our starters when the game releases, when more information comes out, people have played the game and they've gotten to the end game and this and that, which, by the way, we haven't seen anything of. You're not picking Brout. You're not picking Gekwa. You're not picking Ponbon. Ponbon. You're picking the final evolution. And once people see what those are, once those are confirmed officially, then people will have, more or less fondness for each of the starters. And in fact, the starters are irrelevant because those are not the ones we're going to be, using for very long. In fact, nowadays, what is it like? You evolve at level 12 or 14 or something. Pombon is your best friend. Oh, if anything happens to Pombon, but you're going to have this guy for an hour and a half through the tutorial, and he's going to be gone. It's going to be somebody new. And we don't know what those new mons are. We don't know the middle stages. We don't know the final evolutions. I'm probably going to go Gekwa because, again, water starter guy. Always pick the water starter. I don't know why. It's Probably in particular a bad idea in this generation. Winds and waves, they're going to be likely. We're going underwater. We confirmed this. Plenty of options for waters. So water starter is probably not the most efficient. All of the starters here, a lot of hate. And I would literally pick any of them. I love them all. I think they're all great. Brought, I can see it becoming like the sprout brow leaves growing super long and it becoming reminiscent of that. Do you remember Unpheasant? I'm not saying it's going to be like that, but I could see something like that happen. Maybe even becoming like, chickens have like that dangly thing under their beaks and the weird crest of fleshy whatever, or even becoming like some type of velociraptor cool thing. You don't know. I'm on that team, but we'll see what happens. Starters aside, special mechanic. So this is not finalized. And again, this is speculation based on the leaks. Majin is the new gimmick. This is the Japanese word for supernatural person or being, supernatural being, or demon being, or demon person, or a magical person, magical being. Again, loose translation. I just Googled it. And the only reason I've heard this word before is because I grew up watching Dragon Ball Z. And this little pickleball alien character, Babidi, we're going to call him Pickleball. Pickleball has like underworld magic, demon curses, something like this. And he casts his demon spell curses on things. And they get the M for Majin on their forehead. That's the iconic emblem or symbol that they acquire, and then he is able to manipulate and control their moves and telepathically give them orders from wherever. We don't really walk into church in Pokemon, not generally, right? So I doubt we're going to see demon Pokemon or angel Pokemon. I don't think that's the case. But supernatural, if we consider that it is a science fantasy. Sword and Shield had Gigantamax, maybe X and Y, we got Megas, and then Sun and Moon, we got Z moves, I think they were called. I never played Sun and Moon. And then, of course, Terastallization in the last generation. This new gimmick, Majin, because the titles of the games are Winds and Waves and some other like hints here and there, people are starting to say the gimmick will involve weather or the environment. And so I kind of want to speculate very quickly on what I think that might mean. After Megas, so we got kind of two, let's call them timelines, technically. So Megas, we're going to call that the first timeline. So the Megas is the first timeline, extremely popular. To this day, Mega Evolution is considered like the, and this is just across the board. We're not talking competitively, we're talking people that play the games. Generally, Megas are considered, this is like a natural evolution, pardon the pun. Mega Evolution is the natural evolution of evolution. It's where Pokemon kind of, if we're going to have a gimmick, this makes the most logical sense. Gigantamax and Dynamax, if we go down that route, artistically, thematically, these things don't really make sense outside of, is it Paldea or Galar? Sorry, Galar. Like when we're talking about what are Pokemon, the first Pokemon ever was Rhydon, like modeled after a kaiju. So you could argue there's some like history behind that, but the gimmick itself in terms of what Pokemon is, it doesn't really fit. Was it fun? Absolutely. Like a stadium. How do you have a giant calls forth this godlike cloud structure that blasts a thunderbolt, a G-Max, whatever, and doesn't destroy everything for miles around? It makes no logical sense, but put that aside. It's trying what it's trying to do. So again, we're talking about the split. Mega Evolution went this way. It's the logical progression of the series, of the story, of the process of Pokemon playing the game. Now we have this strange kind of middle ground where Pokemon aren't evolving per se, but anybody is able to utilize this power to become a skyscraper. The problem with megas, the major issue when it first arrived, was that you only have so many megas. Nowadays, they're behind a paywall, which is worse, but Legend ZA released all of these new megas. So now Pokemon that were forgotten about or previously overlooked, now they're being brought back into the competitive scene, or even into just the casual scene even, because we have more options. If you're playing competitively, the gameplay loop at that level is stale because you're fighting the same, let's say, dozen monsters over and over. Gigantamax, however, sought to correct that problem. Well, now anyone can battle at that level. This is just generally. As a thing, terrestrialization is really cool for competitive players because it has both offense and defensive options. Once again, allowing any monster I want to terrestrialize and into any type. I'm not limited to the 20 G-Max moves. I have every move at my disposal, and I can use this defensively or offensively as a gimmick. So terrestrialization for competitive players, in my mind, was more practical and allows for more options. Now going back to Majin, supernatural ability. Pokemon at its core is a science fantasy. It's a fantasy adventure in a scientifically inspired world, right? You don't Gigantamax without a trinket. You don't Mega Evolve without a stone and like a watch. I don't remember what it was called. You don't terrestrialize without the technology. There's always technology involved, right? The new gimmick, supernatural abilities. Again, with the word Majin, assuming this leak is correct, supernatural. In a science fantasy setting, that means, think about something like Groudon switching in. Groudon had primal sunlight. What was it called? There was a term. His sunlight was very special, but it doesn't affect Groudon himself. It affected the battlefield. So if we're talking about the environment, when we're talking about a supernatural Majin, supernatural gimmick, what if we give those powers to everyday average monsters? Because remember, I was talking about we went Mega Evolution, we went Gigantamax, we went Terrestrialization. They kind of all had their pros and cons given the context of their generation, but Megas make the most sense story-wise and in terms of what is a Pokemon, right? And we probably will see Megas if I had to guess. I can't confirm that, obviously, but I think Megas are gonna, because of what they've done with ZA, I think we will see Megas moving forward. But this is the major, my major kind of, no one else has said this, but Majin has had one of the leaks associated with Majin. The gimmick includes a GIF of Pikachu and then Pikachu warping. This weird, his head like balloons up and he squishes. It's this weird, doesn't look real. I'm almost certain it's fake. However, if it's a real leak and we're seeing a component of this supernatural ability perhaps flooding into Pikachu's body, the only reason this would be a legitimate leak, or rather what we know, as far as we know right now, the only reason would be because they've remodeled to what we see, from what we understand, we've remodeled all of the Pokemon. So why would they go back? Yes, we're going to Switch 2. Yes, we want better graphics, yada, yada, yada. But no, Pokemon has not done this traditionally. They generally just take their older models and reuse them, recycle them. Maybe they update them slightly. But what if this new Majin gimmick mechanic for battle required the models to do things that they weren't capable of? What if we're remodeling the Pokemon because this new mechanic is going to warp and shift their bodies in such a way that they had to remake the models? This is just speculation on my part. I want to see Majin, if we're dealing with the environment, you activate the gimmick, and perhaps it affects the entire battlefield. Similarly to Rain, you take out Pikachu that has summoned, I don't know, Majin Thunder or something, and the thunder clouds begin over the battlefield. Sunny day, so we have the sun. So for fire types, we have the rain for water types. Maybe thunderstorm will be like a new weather effect that affects the entire battlefield for electric types. Maybe we'll see, I don't know, a graveyard springs up from the ground, and now there's a ghost type environmental effect that, you know, changes the battle. But yeah, I'm just speculating. I'm thinking about the environment, the Pokemon environment, because we have obviously weather effects, we have terrain effects. Again, mega evolution was the natural progression of standard evolution. What if we take it to a supernatural level of evolution, whereby that monster is now affecting the world around it, like Groudon or like Kyogre or like Rayquaza. And so their just physical existence exudes power over the space of the battle. I don't know. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments, and tell me your favorite starter. Like I said, will probably go Gekwa. I'm going to look, and I'm going to see what they evolve into. I'm going to spoil it for myself this time around because I can't do Quackleval again. My name is AJ. I am the Friendly Hermit. Thank you, ladies, gentlemen, boys, and girls, and otherwise. We will see you in the next one. Ta-ta for now. And if you want to keep up to date with some Pokemon leaks and rumors, among other things, we talk about nerd stuff outside. I don't know why. That's what we do on this channel. Cheers, friends. Dinker and Sinker. Na na na. Na 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 na.